Hi everyone on YouTube, this is Na again, making another one of my come alive YouTube stream. So yes, I'm adjusting my light. Uh, so you guys can see me nicely. And there's not too much glare on my face. Well, I think that's good right there. Alrighty, that was just say hi to my first viewer. That was I started sooner than a minute. I said I would give a minute before I start my live stream, and that was definitely earlier than a minute. But I saw some viewers, so I need to back off on that a little bit. And just make sure the lighting is just nicely. I don't know about you guys. I'm really picky on lighting. That's good right there. I'm really picky on lighting. I think that's good right there. Yes, I'm picky on lighting. I don't like I kind of like lightings that are kind of dim with a little bit of glow to it, kind of like a candle. Kind of like what you experience when you're in a church. There's like a dim place where people could just pray and just, be in deep thought and in the dark. So yes, I want this light not aimed at my face. Because this video, my videos are not about me. It's about presenting a good message, something that I hope will enliven people's lives. And, in my opinion, just give glory to God. We want to hear something good. We want to hear something uplifting, right? Something YouTube isn't going to, erase from YouTube, which I've heard a lot of people complain that YouTube removes. That's good right there. I feel like there's a little halo around me. Which, by the way, did you guys know? I know I'm rambling, but the halo, there's a significance to that. You see the halo around saints and the Virgin Mary and, the dove. There's the halo, right? Have you guys ever, what do you think of that? Right? You see that on, depictions of angels, or according to Google, a halo is an honor of as holy. a saint or holy person. So yes, I came back on because, I believe, every now and then I have thoughts in my head. And some of these thoughts, I feel they're not my thoughts, but they are inspired by God and kind of as a warning. So, what I want to talk tonight, and I'm already preparing to copy and paste it onto my YouTube. And I will keep my video at an hour because I have psychology homework due tomorrow. Wrapping up the month, right? And also, I want to be on schedule so that people could have their adequate sleep. So this was what's on my mind. It was put on my thought tonight. I don't know if you guys heard Facebook has a new proposed name recently, right? Called Meta. And I'll copy and paste it for my boyfriend so I could read it to you guys. Whoops, that's the wrong one. He's probably thinking, why did you send me that? It was a definition of meta. Monkeys, enough noise. You want me to spray monkeys? It's English, okay? There will be some noise from the kitty. If they get too loud, I will discipline them. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take away whatever they're making noise to, for them to respect. Enough noise. Play with your toys. You have that toys. You don't need to be making noise while I do my video. I want to teach all my kitties respect. What we're lacking in the world nowadays, big time. So, like I said, you probably heard recently Facebook announced that they're changing their app's name, right, to Meta, right? Meta. Now, on Google, of course, Google is based on who pays to be the top, right? Not that it is most relevant or current. So, of course, Mark Zuckerberg is going to give his reasoning. You guys know how essentially I feel about him, so we don't care what he has to say. I will give you the definition on Google. Up to, it says it's an English word. That's important, and I will tell you why in a minute. Meta, 1980s, okay. It is, and then they give you possibly three, what it might mean. Okay, it's a prefix. Number one, denoting a change of position or condition. All right. Now I'm going to interject here. Okay. It's kind of like somebody changing face, like Facebook. Okay. Number two, denoting a position behind, after, or beyond, right? And like I said, with English honors and statistics and probability, you're not supposed to take everything like verbatim, right? You have to break things down and analyze it. So it says that it is a position, right? Beyond, right? You're talking about prepositional, something that, right? They think they're beyond, right? What I think at the top of my head, somebody like Mark Zuckerberg, who has a late JD, who thinks they're beyond, above the law, by essentially telling law enforcement what to do and playing around with our U.S. Constitution. First Amendment, freedom of speech, right? Press, and so on. Behind. Now I'm thinking of in terms of psychology. In psychology, they have what's called a persona. It's a mask, right? And in my psychology class, they have like a mask of like, it looks like an Asian, because there's an Asian art where one mask she was like, and then the other mask she's like, she's wearing two different faces. But what I want to point out is you think of a mask, right? Persona is what you show the public, right? It's on the outward. This is what you show to the public. That's the persona. And then this is what you actually are personally behind the mask. So keep in mind, Mark Zuckerberg, when he was before Congress for 5 hours, and he refused essentially to give a clear answer, right? And he put in this persona. I don't know. Not sure. I'll check into it, right? Essentially, he was playing a lot of mind games because he supposedly is a criminal justice psychology. And maybe that's why Facebook or him took an attraction to my account, because that's what I am too, / liberal arts, right? So essentially, I can run circles around other people in terms of uncovering things about criminal justice, right? And his mom is a psychiatrist. Now, keep in mind that Congress pointed out they hire people, and they politely coined it, steady, you guys. Let's ask you guys here, if any of you guys psychology majors out there, how do you feel about Facebook studying you, right? And when you think of that in terms of psychology, like what immediately comes to mind? To me, I think of dogs, classical conditioning. I think of pigeons, right? Right? Lab rats. Now here's the thing, okay? Psychology has to teach you all of that. part of the course. And the reason why they have to teach you concepts like classical conditioning, the best example, because that's how Coca-Cola sells, you know, when it got started, right? Till this very day. And I admit it, I am one of those classic Coke, right? But a lot of it is classical conditioning, right? You see the symbol, Coca-Cola, the bubbles. You want to drink it, right? You're really thirsty. Guess what? Classical conditioning, right? But that's advertisement for Coke. And there's not much harm there, you know, as long as you enjoy Coke. You don't try to bathe in it. But did you guys know, interesting enough to say, a long time ago, they said like Coca-Cola, the ingredients in Coca-Cola, they found out was addictive. Almost like illegal drug type. That's why you guys notice people, they just don't drink soda. They're hooked. Like it has to be Coca-Cola and not Pepsi or Dr. Pepper. All right, it's a lot of it's classical conditioning, but a lot of it is, I think, the ingredient in it has got you hooked, like cocaine. So it says here, meta, denoting a change of position, all right, or a change of face or condition. Classical conditioning. You see how I am filling in the blanks for you guys? Because I feel this is something God wants me to expose to everybody. That Congress said is predictable of Mark Zuckerberg. And I will upload that video of Congress guy grilling him. Apparently a whistleblower. They showed a diagram of extensive details of Facebook studying you. So here's some noise in the background again, folks, because our lovely, you know, what is here again? Hello? So we will wait until they're done yapping to continue our video. You see, she does this all the time, every time I do a YouTube. Some people have no consideration for others whatsoever. She does this when I'm doing a live stream. She does this when I am Zoom on school. She does this when I'm having an important conversation with my doctors. It's very rude. But oops, I guess some people are born like that. So anyways, it says meta is denoting a change of position. Right? And Congress said is Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, is predictable. Okay? And I'm thinking maybe Mark Zuckerberg, he likes Meta. His name is Mark, right? So it's a change of position, change of face, predictable, conditioning, classical conditioning, Facebook. Now it's called Meta, all right? Because he feels it describes, I would say, him more. He makes it sound like it is the app and it's for the users. No, this is for him. You know, as people have said in the past. And then number 2 say that it denotes a position behind the mask, his mask, right? That he put on for 5 hours before Congress, not giving a clear answer. It's behind, after, right? After or beyond. Okay? So apparently a lot of people who suffer from mental disorders, right? It's no surprise that they have family members that are psychiatrists and want to study psychology themselves. And a lot of mentally ill people, right? Which people have hinted, Mark Zuckerberg has. They're grandiose. They think they're beyond, right? Above the law. Even though they got a late JD. Now, keep in mind, have you guys ever challenged, what is Mark Zuckerberg going to do with a late JD? Right? What is he going to do with a late JD? Have you guys ever pondered that? Right? Well, if you break down the words of Meta, I would say it gives you a little bit of insight. What is one of the person grilling Mark Zuckerberg is predicted that he would do that he's doing. After. Position after. So to me, I'm thinking after the fact, right? After everything said and done negative, pointed out by Congress, they're going to still pursue their agenda. Leading to number 3, okay, is something of a higher or second order. Facebook community. A meta language. Okay. And then it gives you like a 4 and 5 of chemistry. And then they said that there's a Greek origin of meta. It's with, across, or after from Greek meta. Okay. So that was something I wanted to present if I can. Every time I do a live stream, you guys notice, like I can't even hear myself. And there's people walking in and out of my video. Even for an hour, that's when they've got to come here, start smashing stuff. Like you guys notice, it takes somebody an hour to do the dishes, especially when somebody's trying to do a live stream. Okay, here it says meta from the Greek words mean after or beyond, is a prefix mean more comprehensive. Comprehensive. That means they're going to continue, and they're going to continue more so. Everything that Congress complained about, this is what God's telling me to present to you guys. Or transcending. Okay? Yeah, you think about transcendental, right? Meditation, right? Don't be intimidated at all, because keep in mind all of this, however, millions, billions, trillion, it is DSM-5, folks. It is DSM-5. It is a disorder. Okay. So that's what I wanted to tell you guys. And they said it's a noun for a meta key. Okay. So a lot of you guys probably don't know what a meta key is, right? So here it says meta key.
Meta key.
It's a plural, meta keys, a function key on a keyboard that is activated by simultaneously holding down a control key. Right? Control V, right? I'm putting in my interpretations of it and what I feel Congress is predicting of Mark Zuckerberg and how, I feel like God is saying if something bad's going to happen. Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, right? I mean, I don't want to put them on the spot, but what is a Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, right? So essentially, they took her last Vietnamese Chinese name, right? Put it before his Jewish name, Zuckerberg, an initiative. Right? And she's talking about, joking around about how he most likely won't run for president. But he's gonna go meta. He's gonna go meta. And guess what? For a while, I think he barred Donald Trump from Facebook. Of course, they have their reasonings, of course. That doesn't mean anything they say is logical and it's not insane. I really believe Facebook is crazy. Based on my experience, what other people have said, and what's going down right now. So, I'm not a computer expert, folks, but what I want to say before I lose my thought, Control V. Control V. Control something else, right? And it takes over a different function, right? This is where because tomorrow's Sunday, I'm going to talk about the Bible. Okay? About the book of life versus Facebook. Let's compare the two. Book of life and Facebook. Babies. All right, I'll just hit some stuff that Google says. Keep in mind that we are referencing Google. It says in Christianity and Judaism, the book of life Hebrew, translated Sefer, Hacham, Hacham, Greek, Biblion, something Tezos, is a book which God records the name of every person who is destined for heaven and the world to come. Okay? The reason why Besito is hissing again today, and she's doing it right now because my neighbors are sitting in their patio that they built, and it's been the ongoing noise. And so now they have a patio where they're sitting back there, chatting. And before she didn't see that, so now she's really paranoid. Especially, I'm letting her babies go out there. Let her out if it makes her feel better. Go out. Go out. Go out. Yeah. Okay. Go out. Our angel here, Bianca. Say hi, Bree. Hi, Bree. Who's that angel? I have the cutest babies. God gives me the cutest pets. Precious. Alrighty, so I'm going to let Bianca down. What I was going to say is we're going to have noise interruption as always when I start my live stream. It says that it is the book which God records the names of every person who's destined for heaven and the world to come. Right? So what did I talk about recently to certain people, like Orange County Sheriff Farms, right? I said that the time he invited me to like his Facebook page was like the exact same time. Ding! The exact same time of when I was done reviewing all of his page. So if Orange County Sheriff Farms is out there, this one's for you. I actually have reviewed every single photo post, every single thing he shared on his Facebook, appreciated it and liked and commented, right? And I wrote a very nice commemoration for him and the sheriff department. And by the time I was done, it was like the same time, so here we're going to have smashing and noise in the background to my video as usual. And it'll go on for an hour or two when I'm doing my live stream. So by the time I was done writing that commemoration was the same time that he invited me for his page. So, I really believe that there are people, right, that throughout space and time, we were meant to meet, right? Because we need each other. I need the sheriff department and him as a lead, as he needs me, right, to like his page, right, comment on his page, interact positively on his page, and fill in the blanks for him with what I'm currently learning in criminal justice, right? And I don't know a lot about his background, if he ever had that opportunity, right? Because not everybody who made it past the police academy and sheriff studied criminal justice or even went to college. They might be just like, have what it takes and boom, they're working. So that's the book of life. And then it says other things people ask is, what is the Lamb's book of life? What is the purpose of the book of life? Which angel has the book of life? Very interesting. And which book in the Bible talks about eternal life, right? I'm just giving in general what YouTube is touching base on. And here it says, what is the book of life? And is it the same as the Lamb's book? All right. And it says in the New Testament and some verses on the Old Testament, we run into something known as the book of life a number of times. And I will jump to the get-go what the Bible says about the book of life and the warnings that I feel Mark Zuckerberg knows about, yet he turns his back on, right? The Bible warns in the book of life, the Holy Bible, book of life, right? The whole entire Bible, Revelation, to not change the words around. False news, fake news, right? Propagated for profit. And God said, anyone who takes away the words, right, in the Bible, or adds to it, it's a warning there. And that's what Facebook, essentially, their platform does. All right. That's essentially what their platform does. I'm staring at the corner of my eyes because you got these lovely people walking back and forth, banging noises, right? I don't know how long it takes somebody to do the dishes when I start my live stream, but it's got to go on, for an hour, 2, 3 hours. Dishwashing, right, folks? Not that they're not eavesdropping on our video. Because, they're worried I'm going to reveal the truth about them. Because my video, I whatever I say, I share with everyone. I mean, unless, somebody's got something to hide, right? They shouldn't be all intimidated, right? But what I have to share, right? So essentially, God's warning about taking away the book of life and taking away words from the Bible and adding things, moving words around in the Bible, right? God warned all about that. And guess what? That's Facebook. That is Facebook. It's called algorithm. You can even Google it. Many people, and I've experienced it, I will post something, right? Photo of anything, post of anything, share anything on YouTube or Google, and even off the Facebook platform. And all of a sudden, I look on my Facebook profile and I posted it. It's not there, right? And I understand, everybody wants to make the dollar, but underneath it all, behind it all, like the meta, it's devilish. It's devilish. You think about like the Ouija board. You know how, right? The Ouija board supposed to communicate with dead spirits, or good or bad, and right, the object will move to the letters like this. And most instances, they have connected with an evil spirit, right? Now, look at the movie The Exorcist, right? It started off with her communicating with a Ouija board, Captain Howdy, right? Captain Howdy. And then from there, Captain Howdy must have been the, I would say, the key that opened up the devil to possess the girl in The Exorcist. The meta key. Who is in control? Who do you want to be in control during the coronavirus pandemic? Rulers of the air, coronavirus, the computer, right? Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. At 42 minutes. And it went on to say, and I saw the dead, great and small, standing before the throne, and books were opened. And other things they taught is, what is the book of life? And I asked you guys, a lot of issues on Facebook that I had, is it not because a lot of these, right, spats on Facebook, because people they don't have a life. If they did, they wouldn't argue with people on Facebook, attack people on Facebook, antagonize people on Facebook, right? Do some people even know what life is off of Facebook, and even what the Holy Bible talks about, in terms of the book of life? Essentially, what God's saying is, if Facebook is the here and now, right? Because everybody on Facebook's got it. Yeah, I remember moments when I was on Facebook, right? People said it's addictive, right? The likes, the likes, and all of that. It was like here and now, you don't really care about your life. It's what's on Facebook. Who likes me? Who doesn't like me? Right? Who can I get to like me? Right? Is it possible for a person? Is there a difference? Does the warning in Revelation 22:18-90 apply to the entire Bible or just the book of Revelation? And here, lo and behold, I told you, it's going to expand on what I say God has on my mind. Okay? Told you. Revelation, right? 22:18-19. That's exactly the verse I felt was on my mind. Here it is. It contains a warning to anyone that poses conflict to everyone. Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, who tamper with the biblical texts For I testify together to every one, not one, every one, okay, who hears the word of the prophecy of this book. If anyone adds to these things, meta, all right, meta key, right? Gateway to hell. Okay. Versus the verse in the Bible where Jesus said, I am the way and the truth and the life. Okay. And there's also a gateway to hell. Meta key. If anyone adds to these things, God will add on him the plagues that have been written in this book. Fake news on Facebook that are deemed fake, but there's actually truth to it. They're just paid out, okay? And anyone takes away from the words of the book of this prophecy. So in defense of everybody who's ever been had a warning like me, that they can say this, they can't say that, compared to all the other stupid things that Priscilla Chan and Mark Zuckerberg combined have said, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad, right? So lots of noise on the side, lots of water and banging and slamming doors, eavesdropping, butting into my life all the time, being a big annoyance. It says, if anyone adds to these things, the fake news and everything else, the algorithm, right? God will add to him the plagues that have been written in this book. And if anyone takes away from the words of the book of this prophecy, not what's written on Facebook, right? Because it's God's will be done, right? Not the Chan Zuckerberg initiative. God will take away his part out of the book of life and out of the holy city and from the things which has been written in this book. The question is whether these verses refers to the whole Bible or just the book of Revelation. Well, that's just stupid for whoever wrote this article to even question that. Essentially, God is giving people a warning about twisting the truth. Right? We know there are liars, right? I have one here in my family that lies all the time. And they love to be pathological liar and lie and get other people to believe in their lies and make extensive lies, right? We know there's lies. We know there are very twisted people out there that will take the truth, right, and twist it to their advantage. So God's warning them. Okay? This warning is given specifically to those who distort the message of Book of Revelation. It might be more so, but I think the whole Bible. However, it's completely irrelevant to know the truth, right, about God, whoever this author is. Jesus himself is the author of Revelation and the giver of the vision to the Apostle John, Revelation 1:1. As such, he concludes the book with, but I'm willing to hear this author out. As such, he concludes the book with a confirmation of his testimony to the finality of the prophecy contained in Revelation. All right? Whatever. God's will be done. But for some who are essentially suffering a severe mental disorder, it's all around us. I don't care if they're a millionaire or a billionaire or want to be a trillionaire, right? You don't hold the key to meta, right? You are not the higher, you're not the higher order, okay? Right? Do you guys know what's the difference between, or the correlation between order, like law and order, and, you know, what God has ordained, right? And keep in mind, God gives, you know, people the authority to reinforce law and order. But what I'm trying to say, do you guys know the difference between law and order and what God has ordained? Okay? Ordained means this is what God has set forth, right? And it's beyond a warning. It's beyond a warning. Okay? You're going to die if you challenge what God ordained. Right? Think of in terms of gravity. Right? How many people, right, has played around jumping off a building and face hard reality from it? Okay, I have known a lot of mentally ill people in the past. Their legs are completely crushed, right? Because they said they heard voices that told them to go jump off a building. And even though they can still walk and stuff, you're talking, right, screws and bolts in their legs. You know, many times, right, there are sick people, right, very sick people that will throw animals off a building because hey, crazy, stop it, calm down, calm. Sorry, folks, about that. I allow them to play, but sometimes they turn the house upside down. I'm going to spray them. Okay, so sorry about that, folks. So, yeah, they knocked my webcam. And they are, yeah, I don't mind them exploring, but sometimes they do turn the house upside down. I have to say and put my foot down. So sorry about yelling on camera. And I really don't like to yell at them, but when they're like that, I have to say something. It's either that or they're going to get spanked in the butt. And I don't want to spank them. So there are sick individuals that are aware, right, of that. And they do the sickest things to animals, right? right? And these same individuals need to be reminded that not only these animals, right? They are subjected to what God ordains. And they just broke the laws with God. Okay? I keep in mind what sick individuals do, and so does God. Okay? God, he doesn't close his eyes on shit like that. So all you sickos out there who thinks you're superstars, you want your 3 seconds of fame, right? You could try to throw yourself off a building, see if you'll survive too. I guarantee you you're not. You're not. Okay? There is a limit, right, to humans, men, testing God. God gave a warning of that in the Bible. I don't want to spray them. They're just sitting there looking at me, but they're, I think he's got my, hey, doing it again. Now I got to spray him. Ow, 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 oh, Go play with your ball somewhere else. They're going to knock down my webcam again. Yeah, I know I have to have patience right now because they're babies, but I want to teach them what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And knocking down my webcam is not one of them. I was going to say, not even men, right, can defy gravity, right? As a matter of fact, nobody else has. And I went on to saying before I lost my train of thought, and then you had lovely little distractions, like all the time, pretty much all the time when I'm doing my live stream. I was going to say, I think it's done like deliberate. You guys notice? Every time I'm on live stream, that's when all the noise and the distraction starts. I think it's done deliberately. But some people, they have to have their 3 seconds of fame because nobody wants to give it to them. I was going to say God warned about that. You could test animals and do sick things like that. There's sickos out there, right? And I'm letting you know you're sick. Throwing animals off a building, bridges, stuff like that. But God said, right? You test him, it's going to be a different story. It's going to be a way different story. Let me break it down in terms of mathematics and physics, right? For all you sickos out there. All right. So there was a Chinese guy in China. He was paid a lot of money to climb high buildings. And on one of his videos, let's just say he didn't make it. Okay? And I'm going to break down mathematically and physics why. We're going to give these sickos their 3 seconds of fame before they smack on the ground. So let's see here. Gravity. Math. All right. It says the gravitational equation, in and out, 100 times a day. Yep. I'm talking about people at my house. In and out, trying to eavesdrop in my life, even though I made it clear I want nothing to do with them. It says the gravitational equation says the force of gravity is proportional to the product of the two masses, m1 and m2, and inversely proportional to the square of the distance r. She'll be back in the next minute. Between their center of mass. Mathematically speaking, F equals gravity m1 m2 dash r squared. Yet it is the sun's gravity that keeps the earth in orbit. Law and speed. Here it is. This is what I want to know. It says, is gravity 9.8 meters per squared? Okay. And essentially it is. It's the value of 9.8 meters s squared on Earth. That is to say, the acceleration of gravity on the surface of Earth at sea level. And here they do a physics. I think this is where they drop an egg. What's gravity object falling? It says, how do you calculate gravity? Is 9.81 a free fall? Let's see here. Here it is. This is a general picture. Okay. I don't know if you guys ever did this in high school, but I did in my high school. Rancho Alamitas in Garbage Grove. So essentially, the science teacher, he got on top of the building, dropped an egg, was trying to explain about gravity and acceleration, right? So here it's showing at 0 meters, 4.9, 19.6, 44.1, 78.4, 123, right? So as you can see, it is accelerating, right? More in the drop. Let's see if we got some images. So here they got a basic, that same formula. And it says the gravity, 9.8, right? Given the meters of the fall, s squared. The second squared, right? So essentially, if you were to know how many meters a fall is, right? And how long somebody's falling, right? You can get pretty much a number of how hard they're going to fall. But in general, this is what I learned in astronomy. They asked me a question which a lot of, if you didn't take astronomy class, you probably will get wrong. Which object falls faster? With gravity presence or none, right? Most of you guys probably would get it wrong. Guess what? It's a trick question. Taking away gravity, the object doesn't fall. But what I want to say is everything that I've learned about astronomy, and astronomy is basically based on math and physics. And I study under Dr. Vladimir Tumakov. He's Russian. God is in control of all of it. Gravity or no gravity. He's not somebody, right? You want to play around with, like the way you play around with animals, defenseless animals. We know who the real animals are. And someday, God's going to remind you all the animals you hurt, right? And what losers you are. And he's going to reward you accordingly. So, back to Facebook, okay? As you can see, just like when I do my live stream, there is competition, right? People are always talking. You know, you would think some people have manners when they see somebody doing a live stream. YouTube Academy, right? It's lights, camera, action, right? So what do they go do? They start talking in the background, talking to each other very loud where I can't hear myself, walking in and out of my videos, right, in their underwears, you know, like they're the sexiest things in the world and they're not, and so on and so on. And as you can see, I'm trying to do a live stream. You know, I'm telling them 101 times I'm doing a live stream, be considerate. They don't, you know, and they'll do it again, right? But you see there's chaos and competition, right? And I notice when I do my live stream, all of a sudden they have to do the dishes. Have you guys ever seen somebody do the dishes for, like, sometime my live stream is like an hour, 2 hours? Have you guys ever seen somebody, you notice somebody does the dishes for an hour or 2 hours? But that's the shit that goes on here. I'm talking about everywhere. The system out there. This is just, believe it or not, a very small, shitty example of a big struggle. A big struggle. A big struggle. I'm getting my water ready. What? Predictable. It's not only predictable by Congress, it was predicted. In the book of life. Essentially, in layman's term, that there will be people that think they're meta. Right? And that's my message. And that's my warning about Facebook. Right? Let's just put it this way. Would you guys allow a severely mentally ill person in media take over a situation and have his way with it? Right? You wouldn't, right? Usually those kind of individuals, they're apprehended, right? They're put on the news. They are talked about. Yet, Mark Zuckerberg gets away with it every day. Behind it. Let me read to you the definition of meta again. Meta definition. So I read to you the bottom three. Now this is the top, the adjective for meta. It says, of a creative work referring only to itself or conventional of this genre, right? On defense of YouTube, YouTube is the app, right? These monkeys are just knocking over all my stuff. I'm going to have to lay down the laws with them. No, monkeys, don't even think about it. I got water. So on defense of YouTube, when I use YouTube as a simple analogy, when I took the Creator Academy, there are easy ways to get yourself kicked off of Facebook. That's like plagiarism, with connections unstable, where you're stealing other people's YouTube, right? And the Creator Academy said that that is like something that is a big no-no on YouTube. Not so much them, because of the person, whoever you're stealing stuff off of, right, might go after you. And there's nothing YouTube can do about it. But, give yourself strike warnings, right? And they said the reason why they respond the way they does is because the YouTube abides by the laws of the courts in context, right? They're in compliance. And I hope that I am compliant with YouTube, because I have seen other platforms that are definitely more than mine, and they have complained that YouTube has deleted some of their videos and stuff. I have never been on here where I was received a warning or anything was deleted or anything like that. And I don't want to do that, because I have respect for YouTube, right? So if you ever wonder what their community standards is, go look into it. And also subscribe to my Creator Academy. And there's other YouTubes that go into more details of what you can, what you can't do, right? And it's very specific. It's very specific. What is considered copyright infringement, right? And what is it? So referring to itself, otherwise known as de facto, okay, in my American Gov book. Self-referencing, self. It's like have you ever met people like that? It's all about them. You guys, don't you just love that? I have family members like that. It's all about themselves. I'll go out with them and everything they talk about is themselves. My car, my house, my money, my men, my me, my purse, me. Did I tell you more about me? And this whole entire time you're sitting there talking to them an hour, 2 hours, 3 years. Me. It's all about me. That's self-referencing, right? They are not thinking about others in a good way. And a lot of other people are catching on to this about Facebook, right? I would say at the top is Pink Floyd. He pretty much, right, said everything I said in the most colorful way, right? And he told everybody on YouTube Mark Zuckerberg can fuck off, because Mark Zuckerberg thought that he could buy over one of Pink Floyd's songs. And he also went on to saying, which I like from a man's perspective, an older man, he was like, who the hell is this guy? Right? He was like some nobody in a corner of a room in college, right? And now he's going around doing all of this. Like, who the hell does he think he is? And there are a lot of people who are seeing through that. And as much as Facebook brags about how there's millions of people on their app, guess what? There are many more people that do not want to have anything to do with Facebook app. And I'm one of them. And you know what? Recently, I think they caught on to that, because their face is into everything. I think recently they caught on to that. And recently I got notified in my new Gmail, right? Because I deleted the old ones, that why don't I follow my boyfriend on Instagram? And apparently somebody gave me a heart on my Instagram. I don't know why, because I vacated it. I took down every photo, right, which I didn't even have a lot. I vacated it. I basically dumped it as much as I can. But they try to first they try to cut your throat, and then they try to sweet talk you to come back. And you know what I did? Monkeys, stop it. You know what I did? Since they were saying I was being spammy one time, malicious, which they're the ones who are right having a malicious message and targeting many people. How many people have complained about Facebook versus me? They're malicious. So they sent me some message on my new Gmail. I do not know how they got it. Asking me to follow my boyfriend on Instagram. Why do I need to follow my boyfriend? Right? I could do more than that with my boyfriend. I don't need to just follow him. It's weird. But they try to lure you back in, right? And somehow they still have my Instagram, even though I have nothing on there. And guess what I did? I blocked Instagram and reported it as a spam. You get what you give in life, folks. You get what you give in life. And guess what? On a final note, at an hour and 22 minutes, I'm not for sale. Okay? I'm not for sale. And neither is God. That's why I created this. You know what this means? This is on my subscribe thing. Essentially, is a cross, the Vatican cross that I got. Not necessarily that's from the Vatican. That was the name of the cross. Beautiful cross. And the thing is, the time of coronavirus, there was a lot of, right, people wanted to sell stuff. Because things were online, people were getting desperate for money, and I got this beautiful cross. But do you know what this means? More and more so, I understand, right? Above the noise is a very loud message to God. Stay out. Stay out. And go to hell with all of this. The book of life is the book you should really want to be part of. Because God is going to destroy every other name. I don't care if they're a millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire, so on and so on. Book of life. Okay? And then God also mentioned the tree of life. Right? So you talk about book of life, right? Versus the, versus the Lamb's book. It says the book of life in the Bible, Psalm 69, 27, 28. The psalmist prayed that the wicked will be blotted out. What did I just say? Get out and stay out. Don't bring your shit into a holy place of God. Matthew Henry commented on these verses. God shuts not out any from righteousness. The gospel excludes none who do not, by unbelief, shut themselves out. That's how you shut yourself out. And believing in bullshitters like the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, right? But those who are proud and self-willed, meta. See how this is all correlating? So that they will not come into God's righteousness, shall have their doom accordingly. They themselves decided, right? Facebook community. Daniel 12:1. When describing a time of great distress, likely the end times, Daniel mentioned everyone who has their name in the book will be rescued. All right. How many times somebody has been killed, suicided, crime committed on Facebook? Did Facebook really save anybody from that? No. I can't make up other people's mind for you, but I do care. And I suggest you get off of Facebook where you can. The book here likely means the same book of life. Luke 10, this verse speaks about the names recorded in heaven, although not using the explicit book of life is implied. Okay? Philippians 4:3, Paul mentioned those fellow workers who have shared the gospel alongside him and have their names in the book of life, which is what I'm doing. I'm sharing the gospel. Revelation 3:5, Jesus Christ knows each name in the book of life, every hair on your head. Every pain you go through. He gets closer to you. A book of remembrance, as Matthew Henry said, and Christ will not erase the name of those whose faith is in him, like Facebook will. Revelation 20:15. Anyone who does not have their name in the book of life during the end time will end up in the lake of fires. Right? That's for you, Mark Zuckerberg and the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative and your Facebook community standard. And all the millions and billions and trillions of dollars. In essence, the book of life serves as a testament to those saved who will enjoy eternity with the Lord. Although some theologians theorize as to whether the names were chosen ahead of election or whether those names have been in the book of life can be blotted out. Branches of Christianity that believe you could lose your salvation at the end of days. Christians will want their name in the book of life. Get off of Facebook. It's worth sharing John Piper's statement on the idea that Revelation 3:5 suggests God does not erase some names from the book of life. The promise, Revelation 3:5, I will not erase his name from the book of life, did not necessarily imply that some do have their name erased. It simply says to the one who is in the book and who conquers in faith, not Facebook, I will never wipe your name. There's something the Facebook community, which is stupid to comprehend, right? Priscilla Chan, Miss Valedictorian, Jesus Christ Jesus Christ, doctor, is going to wipe out viruses and diseases. Yet there's no proof that that's actually going to ever happen. In other words, being erased is a fearful prospect, which what I will not allow to happen to those who persevere. Okay, what about the Lamb's Book of Life? Okay, it is different. The Book of Life is also known as the Lamb's Book of Life, which we see specifically mentioned in these verses. Revelations 13:8. Anyone who does not have their name written in the Lamb's Book of Life will worship the beast. So now we're opening up another Pandora, right? There you go. Meta key. Control V. In the end days. Revelation 21:27. Nothing. My cross. Okay? I created it, but God inspired that image in my mind. Because he wants to remind you guys to see him in everything, more so now among the bad news, right? Nothing impure shall enter heaven. Okay? God doesn't allow it, even if you want to continue with it. Only those names written in the Lamb's Book of Life. So in other words, God's saying those who have gotten off of Facebook and those who choose to sanctify their life to be holy and pure and go against evil in the world is in the Lamb's Book of Life. A century through our salvation in Christ, he makes us pure and able to pass through the gates of heaven. And broad is the narrow to hell. Facebook, Medikey. Aside from experiencing exclusively in Revelation, there doesn't appear to be any difference between the Book of Life and the Lamb's Book of Life. Unblotted names found both guarantee salvation in heaven. Granted, maybe revelation, but more emphasis on the Lamb part. This author is dissecting things that's completely irrelevant, right? That's one thing I don't like about Christianity. It's not what you think, it's God's truth, right? So don't overanalyze that. You don't have authority. Not even the angels do that. Because lamb's imagery serves an important role throughout the book of Revelation. In this chapter, the lamb who looks as though he has been slain opens the scroll no one else can, which sets off a chain of events to enact the end of days. I'm not going to read the rest of his article. It doesn't matter what he says, it's what God says. Okay? But you guys see the essential difference. Right? And then it says about the book of life. Open Bible. It's about 100 verses, but I will read just the top, okay, because 100 is a lot. Revelation 3:5. The one who conquers will be clothed thus in white garments. My favorite color. And I will never blot his or her name out of the book of life. God doesn't play games like Facebook. God doesn't play games. Okay? I will confess his name before my Father and before his angels. Right? Let's read the last, these two here. Revelation 20:12. And I saw the dead, great and small, standing before the throne, and books were open. That's not Facebook, folks. Then another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged by what was written in the books, according to what they have done. Might I interject? For all you lovely little people out there, knowing everything that's going on with the coronavirus, yet have done nothing about it, you will reap what you sow. And yes, that includes my family, their relatives, and their associates, the Vietnamese community. Okay? It's a direct correlation. You do nothing in life, you are nothing. Revelation 17:8. The beast that you saw was and is not, and is about to rise from the bottomless pit, Medikey, and go into destruction, the prediction of Facebook. And the dwellers on earth, whose names have not been written in the book of life, more concerned with Facebook, from the foundation of the world, were marveled to see the beast, because it was and is not and is to come. Psalm 69:28 went on to saying, let them, the ones that stay on Facebook, let them be blotted out of the book of the living. Let them not be enrolled among the righteous. Luke 10:20. Nevertheless, do not rejoice in this, that the spirits are subject to you, but rejoice, your names are written in heaven. What a beautiful thought that is. My name, my new nickname, which I created to get the hell away from my Vietnamese name and the Vietnamese, right? Think of in terms of stars and shooting stars. It's in the heavens. My nickname. Revelation 20:11-15. Then I saw a great white throne, and him who was seated on it. From his presence, earth and sky fled away, and no place was found for them. And I saw the dead, great and small, standing before the throne, and books were opened. Okay. Then another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead was judged according to the book, according to what he had done. And the sea gave up the dead who were in it. Death and Hades gave up the dead who were in them. And they were judged, each one of them, according to what they have done. Then death and Hades were thrown into the lake of fire. Amen. This is the second death. This is why Jesus Christ was resurrected to do. And if anyone's name was not found written in the book of life, he was thrown into the lake of fire. So if you were to break this apart, hell, a lot of people hear hell, they're thinking, oh, evil, right? God's mad at us. No, hell is separate and apart from death and Hades, which is like a death angel. And here, this is what I said from the beginning, and I will end here. And if anyone takes away from the words of the book of this prophecy, God will take away his share of the tree of life. I mentioned that too, right? Spinning sword that spins all the time. Why? Because I believe today, more than ever, there are people and entities out there that will destroy life itself. As a matter of fact, I know it. And the holy city, which was described in this book, and there's 100 more verses, so I will stop there. Okay? There's a lot more. Why did I stop there? Because that is the algorithm of Facebook. That essentially everybody's complaining about. Adding fake news, removing people, right? Changing things around. Okay? They think they hold the key to meta. So, if you at an hour and 44 minutes, that's the computer, whatever, right? To me, meta is just Mark Zuckerberg. To me, based on the Bible, it's the mark of the beast. Anybody, anything out there, right? That challenges the Christ head is an antichrist. However way you want to call yourself, you don't fool me or God or the Bible. The Bible says in the end time, the devil will turn complete lies into truth and have the whole world, right, worship the dark as it was the light. And guess what? When I was studying astronomy, I came across something which I didn't have a lot of time to look into it because I had to do my homework. But somebody was trying to imply that Jesus Christ is Satan, that he is the light, right, that has blinded the world. And their reasoning behind it, in terms of astronomy, is it's based on astronomy and how, they really had no basis. But you know how Jesus Christ calls himself the morning star? And so they were trying to pinpoint like astronomy, all that, right? And they actually came up with a very blasphemous article saying that Jesus is actually Satan. Yeah. You guys don't believe me? I'll pull it up. It says here, Satan's war against God. Where the debate, right, has become very devilish. I'm trying to pull up the article for you guys. I don't know about you guys, but my services council has been slow to, pull up articles and stuff. There's only 23 verses about Satan in the Bible versus like 100 or more in Jesus. So you can see where the jealousy is, right? And here there's an article, is Lucifer the name of Satan or Jesus? Here, this is it. And you can see why God warns you, don't twist the truth. Don't do it. Don't do it. Either you're going to hurt yourself, right, and go crazy in your own mind, right, or God's going to condemn you for it. So here's an article on it. It says, you teach that the reference to Lucifer in Isaiah 14:12 is speaking of Satan, right? But the word Lucifer, it's a Latin word for morning star. 2 Peter calls Jesus the morning star. So isn't Isaiah 14 talking about Jesus Christ and not Satan? Point is why I'm English honors, all right? Because we don't overlook anything. You see this? The first one is lowercase, morning star, right? The second one is morning star, uppercase. Now, in astronomy, there is the brightest star, right? So you can understand if somebody's not fully doing their research, they could totally confuse Christianity for you, right? While it is true the word Lucifer means morning star in Latin, this does not mean that ever mention a morning star, right? In scripture, a reference to Christ. Same thing what I'm saying. One is lowercase and one is uppercase, right? Like for example, president. Within what context? President of the United States or president of Satanism, right? But you see, people who are not educated, they will jump to conclusion because they haven't done complete researching, right? Remember, scriptures tell us that Satan comes from an angel of light. And therefore, at times, he passes himself off as the morning star, uppercase. That is Christ. Don't tell me that's hard to comprehend. How many people today claims they are like Jesus Christ, like Chan Zuckerberg? I am here in the next 50 years and I am going to wipe off all microbials and viruses and germs off of the face of the planet. And within the next 50 years, using money that we took from advertisement from users, we are going to wipe out all diseases. Essentially, they're delusional and they think they're God. Scriptures acknowledge this past pattern by assigning Satan the messianic term morning star, lowercase, in a mocking manner, lowercase. Okay? Because the phrase morning star, lowercase, or Lucifer, he's a wannabe, is used both as a description of Christ or of Satan. We must rely on the context of each used to help determine the meaning. The rules of proper interpretation of scriptures require that the context drives our understanding of a meaning of a single word. A single word does not drive our understanding of the context. In Isaiah 14:12, we read, "How you have fallen from heaven, O star of the morning." Okay? Not morning star. Did you guys see that? I will show you. Backwards. In lowercase. So I'll read it again slower. How you have fallen from heaven, O star of the morning. Lucifer. This is not the morning star, uppercase, Jesus. He's sitting at the right hand of God. Son of the dawn, you have been cut down to the earth, you who have weakened the nation. Whereas Jesus, he said, I have come, right, to give life and more so it. It is not by might, but by my spirit. Totally different. In the Latin Vulgate translation, the word for star of morning in Isaiah 14:12 is the word Lucifer. That's how the devil works. by twisting the truth inside and out, backwards and forward, left and right, until you are completely confused. Who is Isaiah describing? To answer that question, we must consider the entire context. As we look at the chapter, we find abundant evidence that the entire chapter is describing Satan's fall. For example, Isaiah 14 also calls this individual the king of Babylon, which is reference to Satan and never Christ. Furthermore, this person is welcomed into Sheol to lie on a bed of maggots. Which is not something prepared for Christ. Huh? Also in verse 14, Lucifer is accused of weakening the nation. That's not something Christ did. And verse 20, he accused of slaying his people. That's not something Christ did. Simply put, it impossible to conclude from the context of Isaiah 14 that Lucifer is a reference to Christ. We must conclude it refers to Satan. Yet there are articles out there that dares articulate that. And God warns of that not even the angels dare do that. In summary, we must guide our understanding of the word Lucifer by the context in which it appears. In Isaiah 14, the context clearly shows this word used to describe Satan. On the other hand, 2 Peter is clearly using the term to describe Christ, as he pointed out. There is nothing surprising nor troubling about the Bible using the same word referring to two different persons or concepts. Okay? Exactly what I said. So, at 2 hours, that is my message that I feel God put on my mind. I have a lot of things in my mind, but I also know something was imprinted in my mind from God. And it's usually things that I am compelled to present to people, right? To help them see the light in the dark, right? The truth behind all the twisted stuff, so that we have a chance to combat the evil. Okay? By the good that we do. That's why I do what I do. And that is my message for tonight. And like I said a while back, when you check up de facto on Google, I looked into the images and there was an article on it. And it pretty much had like a devil's face and little star symbols. And it looks very similar to satanic star. What I was going to try to say, and another thing came on my mind. You know how right now I said there was about 23 things mentioned about Satan to the 100 plus things mentioned about Jesus, right? Well, guess what? I know why Facebook is doing what they're doing. According to Santa Ana College American Gov's book, taught by my teacher, Dr. Timothy Murphy, and although he didn't accept my last paper because he's very strict, Facebook was shot down at the very beginning of our book and is never brought up in American government glossary. That's why. That's why. If you are not a Christian, that's fine. But when you choose to have the mark of the beast, is another story. Jealousy, right, makes people say and do very strange things, folks. Very strange things, folks. So I'm here to warn you, give you the warning signs. Because I don't want to see anything bad happen to you, and neither does God. That is one of my goals at 2 hours and 3 minutes, to be free. Oh, I gotta let Besitas in. And I was gonna say, if I didn't say in my previous video, Besitas, she's growling again, but it's not at me. And actually, several days ago, I woke up and she was on top of me. And this is something she hasn't done like in a long time. So I woke up and she was just sitting on top of me. Because usually every morning they expect me to put out their breakfast. Every morning I greet them. I give everybody a kind of a morning massage. And then I have to clean out their little tray. And then I let them out to exercise. So she was right on top of me. And then when she came back, being that my previous video, she was like really hissing at me. When she came back, she plopped on the table here, and I gave her space, and she was kind of rubbing up against me, right? Like she wanted me to touch her. And that's one thing about animals. They want their boundaries to be respected just as us. And that's how people get bitten, right? And she was acting like she wanted me to touch her, and I did. I touched her, like right here. That's her favorite spot. And, she loved it. So that's my point of 2 and 5 minutes. The mark of the beast, if you don't know, is represented by 666, right? Versus the 7 days, 7 of this, 7 of that in the Bible. Why? Because it is short from perfection. Okay? Or the opposite of perfection. Think of it, the beast, right? That's why, a lot of YouTubes and people in life that their encounter is horrifying. There's a stench. This is a beast you're dealing with. And then also the claws, right? versus, the Trinity. I guess what I'm trying to say is I really mean it. The days all the four walls of hell are going to close in. People are not going to get away with hurting things that God loves anymore. That is probably the most perverse, prevalent problem in the year 2021. And I can honestly tell you, there will be a day of hell. And for those kind of individuals, the sooner the better. I see no other use for those kind of individuals. So with that said, I want to thank YouTube and my 13 subscribers, and all the other YouTubers that has contributed to my knowledge and experience being here. And, moving forward, I want to not only protect myself, but YouTube platform and everybody on there as well. Right? And don't think I can't. Don't think I can't. Right? Because you're only fooling yourself and hanging yourself with that thought.